Okay, hi everyone, we can call the meeting to order. So let's go ahead and do roll call.
Excellent. Gregory Patton,
Here.
Esty Snow.
Here.
Jonathan Koffler. Don't see him. Mike Foster.
Here.
Steve Zane.
I think you're on mute.
Yes,
Gotcha.
I'm here. Sorry.
Excellent. Becky Ho.
Here.
Thank you. Mike Henshin
Here.
and Jim Zarsky.
Here.
Excellent.
Okay, Karen, would you mind sharing the screen with the agenda? Or I can. And while we were doing that, Mike, do you want to share your update? Sorry. Apologies for the timing.
The update is that I'm eating a chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, well, my update is that this will be my last meeting on ACES. I'm going to step away or resign from the group. It's been a pleasure working with everyone. The reason for me to step away, partially it's just to make space for more folks, because we've had a lot of great applicants for the vacancies when we've had them in the recent past. And just at times I feel like I'm short on time and not able to commit the full amount of time needed. And also as I know it's on the agenda to talk about the board election, but my wife was elected trustee, and you know, I'm sure I know she wants to continue pushing environmental sustainability issues. And I think given that, it'd be better to create space for someone else on this committee. So, so that's my plan. Happy to continue to support. I know I put together some measurements of sustainability on our scorecard in the past. And so just as a citizen, I'll continue to be available to help with anything related to work that I've done in the past. But that's my news.
Well, nice working with you, Mike.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
And thanks, Mike. I really appreciate all your contributions over the past couple of years. I know you've been instrumental in some of the things we've been doing, so I really appreciate the chance to work together. And yeah, thanks for everything.
Yep.
You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, maybe I'll drop in, give you guys some public comment from time to time.
Excellent. All right, does anyone have any suggested changes to the agenda as it currently stands?
Can you just scroll down a little bit? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have any changes.
Cool. I'll make a motion to adopt the current agenda.
I'll second.
Cool. All in favor?
Aye.
Only doing these virtual ones because I have no idea how many people actually vote for anything. I'll just assume it was unanimous.
Who was the second to approve? Sorry.
I was. I seconded.
Cool, thanks. All right, do we have any public comment tonight? I don't see anyone. All right, I'll take that as a no. So we can go ahead and jump into the new business and updates. So Ken, do you want to share some updates from the board? We've got a couple items here, but have anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I think I sent out an email to the group after the last board meeting about the new landscape contract, the contractor that was awarded the work has agreed to implement a 25% emissions-free strategy, increasing by 25% each year until the fourth and final year of the contract to be 100% emissions-free with their teams. And essentially what that means is they have 4 different teams that they're going to have working around Superior, and each year they're going to convert a team to fully sustainable equipment rather than gas powered equipment. So thought that'd be interesting and to the group, especially because that was one of the goals we've been working towards. The other thing that happened at that last meeting is the new waste contract for the town was approved, and it did follow what had been previously discussed. So there is a one garbage container, one recycling container. They will each be picked up weekly, and then for a portion of the year, there will be compost as an additional option for purchase. And the reason why they can't offer compost year round is they don't have the demand to be able to support it as a business. So if there eventually is increased demand for compost services, then that can become a year round option as well. Additionally, we did ask them about the converting their fleet to renewable fuel sources, and while that is being discussed at the parent level company, the Colorado fleet is not part of the next 5-year cycle, and it again sounded like it was more economic reasons based. So they would certainly share with us if there's any change to that. But what is more, I think, applicable to you all is they agreed that they would love to talk and meet with you all and have a conversation around how to best encourage and increase our diversion rates. So at some point in a future meeting, we can work with them to get the vendor to come in and talk to you all about what they do to try to enhance diversion rates, and what we can do as in a partnership to move in that direction. So just something for you all to keep on your radar and hopefully tackle within this next calendar year. And then I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. I feel like I am forgetting something. Oh, yes. The work in Tract H that we had been working with DuraRoot on. They brought their proposal to us and discussed it, and you all passed a resolution encouraging the town to move forward with that proposal. We, in ensuring that we would have resident buy-in on that, had some conversations with some of the residents that back up to that Tract H buffer zone. And not only are they very enthusiastic about this idea and supportive of it, but it turns out there was also a local Girl Scout troop who had been working towards that same idea and would be interested in partnering and helping out on this project. So my understanding is that this Girl Scout troop is actually going to come to you all and present. I think what they're going to do is record a video that they can be played at your next meeting. That way they don't have to worry about trying to get multiple girls on camera live, but pitching support of this project to show that there's community support, and I think discussing further what they would like to do as far as involvement. But just wanted to pass that information along, and as I get more information, I'll pass it on. But I would say, Ezzy and Karen, if you just want to mark off a time on the next agenda for the girls just to come in so they can play that video, and then maybe some of them might stick around for public comment after that. Just have that as a discussion item. I think that is all the updates I have.
Ken, there's something on here about solar.
And I'm trying to remember what that related to, we had discussions at our last board retreat about our various goals, and on the board retreat, the way the agenda item was written is that it was going to be more oriented towards ensuring renewable energy sources on the town's upgrade of town hall, if and when that happens. But then the conversation went broader. I would say right now, because we have a new board coming in, that conversation's a bit obsolete and outdated. But I would say that just my sense of the new board members and the board members who are still here is that there's going to be a great appetite for moving forward with additional sustainability goals. So frankly, I'm really excited, and I think there's going to be a lot of support for the efforts that you guys bring to us and want to move forward with. The conversations we have had is trying to put a date certain to moving the town to full renewable energy. There's been conversations about joining on to the Ready for 100 initiative with the Sierra Club. So there's a lot of things that have been discussed, and I think this is going to be a top priority for many of the board members. We're going to have our first retreat as a new board in January, I believe, and that's when we'll talk about town goals and whatnot. And that's going to really set the tone for the year. But I would say that the tone is really set already, because we did pass that budget that included a sustainability analyst who will actually be able to put staff time at a higher and increased rate towards the work you all want to push forward. And I think it's really going to be a role that will help us implement a plan for getting from where we are today to point B with whatever our goals ultimately are. And I think there's going to be a lot of the board looking to you all to help us identify what those goals should be and what we should be prioritizing. That way we're putting our resources towards the right direction. So I would say that's just something to have in the back of your minds and to think about. And there should hopefully be more and better direction from the board after we have our retreat in January.
Any update, Ken, on the the sustainability analyst position or timeline for that?
I don't know. Karen might have more information than I do on that. I think I asked the town manager, and I think they're roughly shooting to have that person on board by March or April. Karen, do you have any additional information on that?
And that's pretty much what I've heard. The only thing that I know is right now they're drafting job descriptions.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Cool, thanks, Ken.
Yep.
And just to reiterate to the two new board members who are coming on, both Paige and Tim have campaigned really heavily on environmental sustainability and have expressed a strong willingness to work with us and excitement to move that forward. So as Ken said, I'm really excited about the direction that we may be able to go in the coming year with the new board. So.
Not to put him on the spot or anything, but I'd probably take it as a good indicator that Tim is sitting in the audience right now as your sole attendee.
All right, so we can move on to the Girl Scout fall leaf cleanup. Jim, if you want to.
So it did look like that Tim raised his hand. I was going to allow him to speak if that was.
Absolutely.
All right, here. Go ahead, Tim.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to say thank you for all the work you've done and everything that you're planning to do as we go into 2021. And just to support what Ken said, Paige and I are completely behind you guys. And we are really looking forward to getting some strong recommendations from you, and then jamming it through the board however we need to with Ken's leadership. So let's do this. Don't hold anything back. Okay, and so let's go do this. Thanks for giving me a chance just to say hi.
Cool. Thanks so much, Tim, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Definitely. Thank you, Tim. Looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, right back at you.
Yeah. Nice meeting you, Ken. Or Tim, I mean, sorry. We know Ken.
All right, Jim, do you want to talk about the fall leaf cleanup with the Girl Scouts?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I think overall it was a success. Did really well. As you guys may have seen on some of the email exchanges, the pickup of the bags was popular. Karen, you're going to have to jump in and tell me how many orders we placed. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 more orders and total number.
So I put that info down really quickly, and we placed an order 3 times, a total of 250 bags, and we did distribute all of them. So I don't know if you guys counted how many you picked up, but the total amount was $120.50.
Perfect. Thank you for that information. Yes, we did track. So we had, let's see, how many groups of cars? I think we had about 6 groups of cars together that picked up bags, and we tracked how many bags we picked up. It was a total of 292 bags that we picked up, and about 35 houses, across 35 houses. So, and then donations were optional, but overall the Girl Scouts did receive donations. So overall, really successful. I was involved in last year's inaugural event, and I think we only got about 5 or 10 houses last year. So it did grow more this year. And another thing too, is you guys probably know Stoffers as well, Rick Stoffer. It was kind of a last minute thing, but I decided to go ahead and borrow his client truck, because none of us doing this had pickup trucks. All we had were SUVs, and he was able to lend it out to us. And I'm glad I got it, because there was one house we went to that had about 35 bags filled up. So even a pickup truck wouldn't have handled that. So something to just kind of think about here maybe next year. And I could talk to Rick about this, but if we want to do like a partnership with the Stoffer team and borrow the truck and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he doesn't really charge for the truck. You just got to fill up with gas and you're done. But if we want to give a little kudos to Rick, local business, real estate company for helping out with this sort of thing, just something to consider in the future. So, does anybody have any questions I can answer about it?
I don't, but thanks again for all of your work coordinating this and making sure it happened this year.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, thanks for ACES, donating the bags and all that kind of stuff. I think, including myself, I've gotten better about using that yard waste facility and learning about those compostable bags and all that stuff. I've gotten a lot better about that in the last few years. So I think it's good for everybody.
Great. It looks like our next item is talking about the Superior Holiday event, and traditionally we've had a holiday dinner in December for our December meeting. Obviously with COVID, that seems unlikely at best. But Karen, can I turn it over to you and have you share your thoughts on those things?
Sure, absolutely. As far as a Superior Town event, all of our events have been canceled for this year, so there is not a town holiday event that will happen this year. As far as the advisory group holiday dinner goes, we had some other groups choose earlier in the year. I think it was mid-October-ish. We had a couple advisory groups that decided to meet outside at a park, and then it was just strictly the members, and then the staff liaison ordered and paid for the food, and then the group picked it up and sat outside and at one of the town parks and ate, and were able to kind of have a get together that way. So I mean, that is completely up to you guys, but as the health code guidelines are changing, things are different now. So it's definitely, a gathering is not something that I, as a town staff liaison, am going to encourage, but you're all adults and can make, decisions on whatever you would like to do. And if there's a certain sort of funding that you would like for some sort of food or eating, we can always talk about that, or we can, wait until next year as well.
This is Mike Foster. While I would love to actually meet everybody in person for the first time, I think the fact that the state just moved into orange level this past Monday, and we're continuing to see an increase in the number of COVID cases. I think I would prefer that we throw caution out there and probably not have an in-person event this year.
Yeah, I would second that. As much as I'd love to see everyone in person again, I'd rather stay safe and just have a virtual December meeting.
Yep. I'm happy to have a December virtual meeting, absolutely. And, we can have the glass of holiday cheer or, something while we have a meeting to acknowledge all of our efforts this year. But a virtual meeting sounds like the better way to go right now.
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
It's kind of along the same topic, so because it involves spending money of ACES, but I know our budget is use it or lose it every year, right, Karen?
Right, and we additionally get the same amount that's every year, so it's not really use it or lose it type thing. You'll receive the same 5,000 next year, unless there were other things that were requested in the budget request.
I mean, I don't know if ACES has ever done this or any other town committee, but can we donate that money to a good cause?
So that would be something I would have to look into. In my recollection, I've not heard of any of the groups doing something like that. It is funding from the general fund that goes out. So I don't know that there would be a possibility for that, but I'm always willing to ask.
Jim, along those lines, could we, if we're not going to spend down the budget, or could we stock up on next year's Girl Scout leaf bags now and just have a supply in somebody's garage?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think, Karen, if you're able to look into that and see if donations are possible, and if not, I'm totally supportive of just buying a bunch of bags now while we have budget.
Perfect. Yep, I will look into that. And then, so what I'm hearing, I would just need everyone to not necessarily vote, but let's get kind of an overall feeling from everyone on whether you're able to attend a December meeting. Just so we know that that we would have quorum.
Just the second Tuesday in December, whatever that is.
Yeah,
The
should
8th?
be able to.
Yep,
All right.
that works for me.
Works for Mike.
Or the second Thursday, I mean the 10th. Sorry.
The 10th, yeah. So it sounds like it's an overall yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
It's actually already on the calendar, right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It just sometimes people are out of town in December, and so some groups decide not to hold December meetings.
We also do have the work plan too, which is a item for discussion later. And if we're not going to have a December meeting, then we should finalize that tonight, which would be exciting. But we could always try doing it.
One other comment about the the remaining budget. Jim, sounds like Rick was fairly helpful and instrumental with the leaf pickup, something that some of the other committees have done when they get outside help from some of our residents for various projects, is just send a thank you card and a token amount of a gift card or something as a thank you. So if you guys wanted to do something like that and send it Rick's way, there's certainly precedent for that as well.
I'd be supportive of that, especially if he let us borrow his vehicle.
Okay. Yeah. I
Agreed.
mean, is there guidelines there, Ken or Karen, on the amount in this situation?
No, I think that would be something that the group would just decide on, and
Okay.
throw out a recommendation and then vote on it. And then myself as town staff can take care of the purchasing it, and then I can get it to you guys, and you guys can put it together with a thank you card and get it to him. And I would, the only other thing I would suggest would be purchasing from a town business for the gift card.
Yeah, that was going to be my recommendation as well. If we could support a local town of Superior business, that'd be great. I don't know where he shops, but if Jimmy, you have any intel on that?
Or restaurant food, takeout.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Wayne's.
I was just about to say
Oh,
Wayne's,
yeah.
man.
Ah.
Everyone likes Wayne's.
That's a no-brainer. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Or Superior Liquor has a 2020 card.
I want to say back when I was still on the open space committee, the amount that we did for various residents was anywhere between $50 and $100. The $100 was somebody who actually came out and led a equestrian clinic, so there's a fair amount of effort there. And then I think the lower one was just $50, just to say thank you for coming out and helping as well.
Yeah, I think the 50 was a number I had in my head.
That's what I had in mind too.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Should I introduce a motion to authorize a gift card of $50 for the help? Okay. Yeah, I'll introduce that motion.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, all in favor? All right, I think that's everyone, at least that I can see from my small screen.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. Any final thoughts for the December event? It sounds like we'll just do it virtually, and maybe we can do a toast or something for the year. But okay.
And then, well, I guess just we'll make a motion or vote on whether we can, depending on what Karen tells us next month, if we can donate our remaining funds to
Yeah, that sounds great.
this month.
I know this is going to sound very bureaucratic, but Karen, do you have any purchasing deadlines that you need to meet before December 10th?
Not for this type of thing, and
Okay.
I'll take care of it pretty much tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, well, it sounds like we can move on to the discussion items. So the first one is we had talked about doing some town outreach virtually around the sustainability goals before presenting them for to the board. And I've been talking about this with a handful of folks, and I suspect with the current or the new incoming board, it may be easier and more time efficient for us just to go ahead and present the goals. I don't know how much really valuable feedback we're going to get, especially since a lot of the goals are more numerical. But I want to open up that discussion. I mean, I think there's a lot of exciting work we could be doing. And so for me personally, I'd rather just submit a recommendation to the board as opposed to spending a lot of additional time over the next couple of months trying to work with virtual platform and get that all figured out. And wait for responses, and then finally be able to, you know, I basically have to wait for a number of months before we can present those goals. So I know that's a little bit different from what we discussed previously. So I wanted to open up to general discussion and get other people's thoughts. But it does sound like there's very strong support from the incoming board for adopting some of these goals.
When is the board actually seated, and when would we be, when would be the first opportunity for us to really do that?
Sounds like December. Is that correct, Ken?
Yeah.
December 14th, Tim
Yep.
says. Yeah.
So Essie, I think it is important to get feedback from the public, but the way we might want to approach this is we essentially brief the new board on what our goals are, and if there's any questions or comments or, some concerns that are raised, we can say, we want to take this back out to the community to get some additional feedback. And we can come back to you at whatever time, March for a formal adoption by the board, or in February for a formal adoption of the board. Because I think it is important that we have community buy-in, because we're not going to be able to achieve these goals without support from the community. And if there's we can get the business community or residents, and this is going to tie into the partners and energy update or discussion. I think we'll be better positioned to achieve the goals that we've outlined.
That sounds fine to me, and I'd be happy to, Karen or others, I don't know if there's a time available for the December 14th meeting to go over our proposed goals and get feedback from the board before making an official recommendation, but is that something that might be possible?
So what I've seen for the agenda, the draft agenda for December 14th is very heavy. I can ask the town manager, or Ken can reach out to the town manager and ask him, if there's there would be time, but I know with the, the new board coming in and we do have some advisory group interviews that night, and there's just a lot on that agenda already. But I'm more than willing to ask.
Okay, yeah, I think just the next possible meeting would be great, whether it's the December 14th meeting or sometime in January. And I'll be happy to support that.
And I'll ask as well and push that through. But yeah, everything Karen said is accurate. I've seen the tentative agenda, and I have a feeling we're going to have to already drop some things. But I'll talk to the town manager and see if there's things we've already dropped to see if we can squeeze you guys in. If that's not possible, then absolutely first meeting in January. I'll make sure that you guys are on that one if we can't make December work. There is no second meeting in December, so there's just the one meeting in December, and then it's the first meeting in January.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks so much, Ken.
Ken, you mentioned you guys have a retreat. What, in January? You said. I mean, would this be something important for that, or maybe useful for that retreat, or because you said that's your planning for the year? Yeah, so that's when we set board goals for the year, and basically just set whatever the priorities should be throughout the year for both our work time and staff high level priorities. We don't yet have the retreat officially scheduled. I think one of the things we'll be doing at the December meeting is setting the schedule for all of 2021. So I have a feeling we'll set that retreat date exactly in January. But yeah, I would say if we can't get you guys on the calendar for a regular meeting, either in December or in January, then absolutely we'll make sure it's on the retreat. That way we can have a real discussion at the retreat level as well. So either way, we'll make it happen in January, if not December.
Right. Well, thanks so much, Ken. That sounds great. So Mike, I really like that approach, and my goal is certainly not to, avoid community feedback, because I think it is really important. I just also want to set us up so we can hit the ground running in 2021 as well. So, but I think that's a great approach. Any other comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll just revisit one point that we might discuss now on the goals. Mm-hmm. I know we did go through them last time. I think there might still be one point of confusion about one of the goals that we should try to resolve, which was the waste goal. And as written right now, it just says reduce waste to landfill by 30%. And this would be by 2025. And the point of confusion, I believe, exists is that in the last meeting we talked about benchmarking that against Boulder and some other communities, but then referred to their benchmark as their diversion rate, which is a different metric, and I'm not sure that we were all on the same page on that. So I think some folks introduced last time that Boulder has a goal of a diversion rate of over 50%, but the goal that we have written now is not a diversion rate, but just a straight cut in landfill waste of 30%. And I wanted to clarify that and sort of open up if people still feel good around the 30% goal that we set last time, or if we don't want to open that back up.
Hey, Mike, this is the other Mike. Has the town of Superior actually calculated its diversion rate?
Yeah, we have done that, and that's been part of that scorecard process we did before. And I bet I could pull it up right now. It's much it's well behind the Boulder. The Boulder benchmark is kind of a tough one because they're
Right. So
they're
what
so
is
far
it?
out in front.
Yeah.
I can find real quick what it was, but I think it was in the between 20 and 25%. I want to say from the top of my head is about where we were on that metric.
Well, I think if we would want to increase that to a 30% diversion rate by 2030, I mean, that's somewhere between a 5 and 10% increase in the diversion rate in 10 years. And that's
in 5 years. Yeah.
In 5 years. Sorry, that's still pretty ambitious.
Yeah, that may be an appropriate and ambitious goal. I think actually cutting the volume that goes to the landfill by 30% would be a much more ambitious goal because it would require us to hit, instead of going from 23% to 30%, it might require us to go to 40 or 45. It would require us to achieve more. And I'm looking back at the latest stats we have. Yeah, for years it's sort of hovered between 20 and 25%.
I think moving to a race diversion rate makes sense, especially as we're looking at increased construction going on in the town over the coming years. I think the rate would be a better metric to encapsulate that.
Yeah, and that's my suggestion as well. I worry that we'd accidentally be signing ourselves up for something that's not achievable if we want to just as it's currently written. So I wonder if we want to change it to a rate.
Yeah, I would support that.
I think a diversion rate would be easier for the general public to understand what it is that we're trying to achieve. Jim, Steve, Becky, Craig, do you all have thoughts on that?
I don't have anything to add. I'm in support of what you're discussing. I think I brought up in Boulder published this a few months ago that they had like 50% or something ridiculous, but then they also have composting too, right? Which is helping out with that. So I think I recall our last discussion around this is that we didn't want to go that aggressive because we need to walk before we run here.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe we'll want to re-vote if we're changing it since we did vote on these goals last time, but it sounds like there's general alignment here on just rewording the waste goal to be increase the waste diversion rate to 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjust the wording and the proposed goals from an absolute quantity of waste to a waste diversion rate.
Okay, I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, cool.
Thanks, everybody. So one of my last acts here will be to update that, and then I'll resend the full list of the 5 goals to the ACES email so you guys have it.
So just, I want to capture it correctly in the minutes. It's increased waste diversion rate to 30% by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Both Mikes. And then would you also be willing to share too for the sort of the calculations and sources you use to put together the scorecard as well before you take off?
Yeah, for that one, there's like a whole spreadsheet and the whole thing. I can just hold on to that until someone's ready to take it over for me. And if there's a volunteer on this committee to be that person, that's great. And I can just do that one-on-one with that person. Or if we think that's more appropriate to wait until there's a town staff person to take that on, then I'm happy to wait. But I'm not going anywhere, so I can be available on demand to to share that with whoever wants to take that over.
Could be considered proprietary information, and you could start your own consulting business.
No, I don't I feel like that's not in the spirit of the town committees.
I think if no one's jumping up right now, maybe we'll wait, and particularly as we see how the sustainability staff member, views their role, maybe that would be a good thing for them to keep up to date. Any final thoughts around the sustainability goals? I think that sounds like a good approach.
I guess another way to back into composting is, I think what we really want to see composting townwide is our overall goal. Can the town board pass an ordinance to require all waste services to require some sort of component of composting, which would then get the HOA to work with their waste services company to amend their contract to provide that service to everybody?
So I'm sure we could do that. And one of the things that came out in the bidding for the town's waste contract, which basically covers everything except Rock Creek, since that's a different waste contract, was that even though we didn't end up putting or including in the proposal language what we were looking for that would require that, the companies did provide the pricing that would include various compost options. And what it came down to is that it was more price prohibitive. It would either double or triple the base cost, which at least on the last board, there wasn't really an appetite to do, especially given the economic times, because all that cost just gets passed on to the residents. It's not borne by the town at all. So if we were to do that, then that would just have a direct correlation of passing that cost on to the residents. And unless we can get a strong support from the residents in the town to do that, which I don't think necessarily we saw in the survey that went out, it would be difficult to, I think, get enough political support to pass an ordinance like that. But what I will say is we do have the same waste contractor for the town as the Rock Creek HOA. So if we get to the point that it becomes economically feasible for the vendor to offer compost year round, it won't just be us, our town contract they're looking at. They more or less look at us as a joint a bulk
economies of scale.
Exactly. So even though we're not technically an economy of scale on a single contract, they're already giving us that pricing and looking at us that way.
Okay. I feel like a lot of the research and stuff that done around all this was kind of with that overall end goal to kind of bolster the reason why we should be doing composting. But I also just, hearing the diversion rate goals and stuff like that, composting would help get us to those goals faster. It's kind of connected, from a big picture standpoint.
Hey, Jim, this is Mike Foster. I think one of the other things that we can work on as a town and as ACES over the next 5 years is construction and demolition waste. That makes up about 30% of landfill waste in Colorado. So that presents a huge opportunity in Superior, especially with all the new development that's going on. If we can get developers to divert half of the construction waste that's currently going to landfill, that we would see a significant jump in our diversion rate.
Yeah.
And that, to your earlier point, it's probably going to take an ordinance to make that happen. I think some of the more cutting edge developers will probably do that voluntarily, but to really make a statement from a town perspective, an ordinance may be something that the town has to explore.
Yeah,
Which
agree
again,
on
I
that
think
too.
that, yeah, I think that is something that is worth bringing forward and exploring. I think to bring that to the town board, it'd be useful to have uh, both an outline of what that would look like, so what we would actually be changing in the code, and then also just benchmarking to other municipalities to show whether we are behind the times, whether there's others who are doing this and we're just moving forward to where we probably should have been in the past, or whether this moves us to a leader in the area. Not saying that that's a problem or anything, but just that I think that will help drive the conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Are there any further comments, or should we move on to the Partners Energy discussion? Okay, not hearing anything, let's go ahead and dive into Partners Energy. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Essie. Thank you all. Before Lisa stepped off of ACES, she had been working with Excel Energy to help develop a draft energy action plan for the town of Superior. So I'm really kind of picking up where Lisa has left off in an effort to try to get this up and over the goal line here in the next few months. The energy action plan essentially provides a high-level overview of town energy use by sector, whether that's residential or commercial. It also outlines some key strategies that we can implement in those sectors to achieve energy efficiency savings. As an example, the commercial space represents about 40% of the town's energy use, while only 9% of the total premises in Superior. By contrast, the residential sector represents 60% of the town's energy use, but is 90% of the buildings. So there is probably an opportunity to really engage the commercial space, because there's a fewer number of them, to really drive energy savings in the town. Some of the key strategies that we're looking at to help implement and execute this would be to engage small, medium businesses as well as homes to take actions that help basically reduce energy use, whether that's through more efficient lighting or more efficient heating and cooling systems, motors, things like that. We're also looking at working with developers to really promote energy efficiency development or energy efficiency in new developments, whether that's Energy Star for new homes or Energy Star for commercial buildings or commercial interior build out. And then the fourth key strategy is to explore electrification of the town fleet. And that's the fourth goal and strategy, because we realize that that's going to be a much bigger lift, just given some of the investments that the town would need to make. So again, all this is still very much in a draft form. The goals are slated to be achieved, or the target year is the end of 2022. So some pretty ambitious goals by the end of 2022. Part of those goals, we'd want to engage 30 businesses in energy efficiency work, 200 households on the residential side. For the new developments, we'd want to engage 9 developers to participate in Energy Star, and increase the number of electric vehicles in the town fleet by, let's say, 5 to 10, something like that. I think one of the key components of this energy action plan is that this is very much a grassroots effort. This is going to heavily rely on ACES committee members and town staff to implement. So we're trying to be very thoughtful about the additional workload that we would need to put on ourselves or town staff to really implement and achieve these goals. So we've been very thoughtful and mindful about that impact. The timeline, as we have it outlined now, is to get ACES a draft of the energy action plan before the end of this month. I'd like to then have a discussion about the draft plan at the December meeting and get your comments and feedback and edits. And then I'd like to brief the town board on this energy action plan probably in January. Just as kind of an update of directionally where we're headed, what we're seeing, some of the key themes. And then like the sustainability plan, I'd want to go out and get some public feedback, public input, get the community's thoughts on this, incorporate those thoughts, and then present this to the town board sometime in the early spring for formal adoption. I know that was a lot of information that I just presented right now, so I'm happy to answer questions again. I've got a draft plan that I'm working on with Excel right now, and we'll get you that draft plan before the end of this month.
Well, first off, thanks, Mike, again for stepping up and jumping headfirst into this. I know it's a lot, so I appreciate everything you're doing.
Been great. Love it.
I guess, I mean, it seems like we have a crutch now, right? Because we got this new sustainability analyst person that's going to come on board, and we're already building up a list of things for them to do, and they haven't even advertised the job yet. But would some of this stuff might maybe fall on that person? Because as you said, it's going to be kind of a burden. Like, have you thought that far ahead about this?
That's a great question, Jim, and absolutely, I think the town sustainability person would, I think, absolutely have a role in implementing that. And when I mentioned town staff, I was, thinking in the back of my mind that would be a key component. And some of the strategies that are in the plan are, especially on the residential side, is looking at how we can engage the different homeowners associations in some kind of friendly competition, to see who can get the most number of homes signed up for an energy audit or Energy Star Homes program or something like that. So that might be a role that ACES can play or the town board can play to help encourage and show leadership, but certainly town staff could play a role in that as well.
Yeah, those are good ideas.
And for reference to, in a lot of other communities that have worked with Partners in Energy, my understanding is that typically it's sort of a mix of town staff and advisory members. And so we're sort of in a unique situation, just given the size of Superior, that we're trying to, and I say we, Mike is trying to do it all, sort of with a much smaller group of support. So.
Other comments or questions at this point?
Mike, it's Greg. Could you run through those numbers again? You said the commercial aspect of Superior makes up 40% of the energy use, only 9% of the population?
Of the buildings, of the premises. Yep. And then residential is 60% energy use and 90% of the premises.
Okay, so we have a much bigger opportunity to make an impact with commercial, I think, right?
I would agree with that. It's a much smaller number to target, and in my opinion, based on my experience, businesses are more likely to take action on energy efficiency initiatives than a homeowner. Being a homeowner, I know if somebody knocks on my door and says, "Hey, we'll give you a rebate to upgrade your heating system." Well, that's not my 10-year plans, but right. For a business that you can really show the bottom line impact, they're probably more likely to take action.
Agreed.
Those are interesting numbers, Mike. And in my background doing energy consulting and energy audits and all that kind of stuff, I bet you what's driving that number is refrigeration. I mean, if you look.
Yeah, I can dive into those numbers. Excel has provided some of that information. Lighting is also a huge component.
Yeah, that too.
There's a lot of T12 still out there.
But if you look at the big refrigeration systems, and we're a pretty small town too.
Yep.
From Costco, Target, Whole Foods, Safeway, the liquor stores.
Yep.
Those are big energy users.
Yep.
So I have a question. What would it take, and maybe this is a question for Ken, for the town of Superior to adopt an ordinance like say Boulder has or Denver has to require energy, like the minimal Energy Star benchmarking for commercial businesses?
Not a lot, and we do update our town codes on a fairly regular basis these days. We just went through it again. Ezzy, can you remind me, or anybody else on the board, did we include, or on the committee, did we have anything in our towards commercial in what we included in our most recent update to the code related to our sustainability topics?
Yeah, in general, so far we've just been updating our energy code to not quite the latest, but like continually updating the what's the International Energy Code? Like,
IECC.
yes, thank you, ACC. And so I think we're up to 2016, I want to say, something like that. Maybe we upgraded to a little bit higher than that. And so that's sort of the approach we've been taking.
Right, but so Denver has Electrified Denver, where they have an actual benchmarking ordinance where all commercial properties have to report annually their Energy Star score to the city of Denver. And what would it take to get something like that for the town of Superior?
I think the first step would just be a recommendation from you guys to consider that, and then we could have that discussion at the board level, and then any type of the Denver ordinance as background and as a benchmark would be useful, but anything else that can support the adoption of that would be helpful. But yeah, I think that's a great thought and something we should be considering for the code.
Yeah, I mean, but Boulder has something similar too, with the benchmarking, and then annual certification of ASHRAE 1 level walkthrough, I think. So yeah, there are several municipalities around our area that are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just on that. So just to clarify, I mean, we have done the most recent building code update. I think there's opportunities to continue updating those and go above and beyond even what the IECC has, which will be great. But and then you're talking about a benchmarking, either a benchmarking or a performance standard for the existing buildings, which wouldn't be covered under the code updates. And yeah, Denver and Boulder have done that. They've at least done benchmarking. Denver's trying to roll out a performance standard, which not only requires you to report your score, but if your score is below a certain threshold, requires you to make the updates to reach that threshold. Yep.
Right.
And there's a draft bill coming to the Colorado state legislature this next session, which would implement a similar program statewide. No reason that our community couldn't do our own. I do think the Colorado Energy Office is looking for communities that want to take them up on their offer to provide technical support for some of those more involved policies. So that's can be a resource that if we're going to propose, we could cite to the board in the future, or you guys could. I did want to make a couple other comments on the energy plan. One is that if we're going to the board with sustainability goals and then going with an energy plan, it'll be best to draw those linkages as much as possible and make clear that one is the energy plan is in support of those sustainability goals, and they're not, even though they came from separate origins, that they're not separate things and they really support each other. And I would say, looking at the sustainability goals, I mean, one of them is climate, of course, which this all supports, but one of them is energy, and it's about reducing combined electric and gas use from Excel. And these goals can directly feed into that. So drawing those connections will be helpful. Two other points. One, that the county sustainability staff could be another resource if we feel like we're resource constrained or we're putting too much on our yet to be hired future person that we're hoping will be great. But in particular on engaging local businesses, we already have had a program, which now I already forget the name, but the one that Caitlin led for us for a while in liaising with the county folks who go knock door to door and all the businesses and try to tell them about their energy audit and upgrade opportunities. So we can sort of leverage the county resources to do some of that work.
And Mike, on that point, that's a really important point. And one of the things I've really been trying to impress upon Excel is, they have large account reps, they have medium-sized account reps that at some frequency talk with these large businesses and small businesses, and what can their account reps be doing to continue to push and advocate and provide, our businesses the information about the incentives that are available for lighting, I've been pushing Excel to develop what's called a direct install program, where they have a contractor come in and we'll do soup to nuts lighting efficiency and motor improvements and HVAC improvements, so that it's one less thing the business has to think of. So I'm really pushing Excel on the back end to bring these resources to the town, because doing a lot of outreach is a lot of hard work, and if Excel has relationship with these customers, then why aren't they leveraging them?
Yeah, especially some of the larger businesses. I know we've heard from the county folks in the past that if they go to like a Target or a Costco, it's tough for them because the store manager at Target's just like, hey, I'm just following my manager's guidance. But if Excel is engaging with like the Colorado
district managers,
manager, that may be helpful. The last thing I wanted to contribute, just in the range of solutions that you're talking about, like Energy Star new homes and energy audits, that I know Excel is starting to take these steps, but we should push them to talk about getting these buildings off of gas altogether and encouraging these all
decarbonization
opportunities to be carbon free, and especially in the new homes, if you're talking to developers, to make it clear that that's something that our community is interested in, but also with the existing businesses and homeowners too. And there's an opportunity to leverage another county resource. The Comfort 365 is a program that the county offers to encourage homeowners to do that. So there's actually a bunch of resources. It might be good to line all those up and say, here's all the ways we can leverage what else is out there to make this happen. So it's not just ACES committees members going door to door.
That's fantastic. And kind of underlying that point, I think one of the things that really came to light for me is energy use has increased about 7% within the town over the last 3 years. So from a sustainability standpoint, we're kind of going in the wrong direction. and I think efficiency offers a really big opportunity, especially given that one of our goals is energy efficiency and reducing GHG emissions and things like that. So if we can at least levelize energy use in the town, then that's going to set us up for success.
And I do think as well, I know a bunch of folks at Excel that, both in the Partners Energy program and also just in their regular DSM programs, which is their efficiency offerings. And I'm curious too, if there might be opportunities to do either a big electrification demonstration or something kind of big and impressive that highlights the town of Superior as a unique sort of like demonstration area. And so I've talked a little bit with Partners Energy a long time ago when we first kicked it off before, like last year, I guess. And it sounds like that wouldn't really be in the scope of what Partners Energy does, but there may be opportunities to reach out to other folks at Excel and see if there's sort of a bigger initiative that we could work with them on, especially because, they do have these very aggressive carbon goals that they're working towards. And so, that may be something complementary to Partners Energy that we could focus on earlier in the coming year.
See, that's a great point. When you kind of boil it down, Partners in Energy is really a marketing and outreach program. And so leveraging some of the other programs and resources that Excel has, I think that's going to be a slightly different team within Excel, which is why I'm working to try to bring those resources into our energy action plan, so it doesn't look like just an outreach and education program, because it's great to raise awareness, but what we really need is action, and action requires resources that you can bring to the table to say, hey, small business, I can offer this. Here's resources, here's a rebate, here's a list of things you can install in your business to make it more efficient. And so making it as turnkey as we can, and even for the residential side, making it as turnkey and as seamless and as possible is going to be how we're going to achieve success.
Agreed.
And Mike, both Mikes, I guess. I'll throw something out there. But I'm trying to reconnect with PACE, and what was it called? The Green Business Community. I think, Mike, that's the one you were talking about.
I forgot the name Pace, but yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to get a call set up. I'm doing the email exchange thing. We're trying to get a call set up right after Thanksgiving. So hopefully we can reconnect there. And Mike, it sort of sounds like it'll fit maybe nicely with your plans. I mean, I still don't have any clue how all these things fit together, but definitely we'll keep you in the loop.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And PACE actually does have county staff who can go around and provide education to businesses. And so if we want to help them tweak the messaging that they're providing, that may be a really excellent sort of free resource for us to take advantage of.
Mike Foster, just to circle back to something you said, wanting to bring the Excel goals and information to the board. I think you said aiming for January for that discussion, so maybe not ready for it in December. It sounds like our sustainability goals at the ACES level and your conversation would probably be fairly complementary. It might be good for the same conversation. Should we just plain shoot for the January meeting and not try for December? Or if we can get on December, would you be ready for that?
From an energy action plan, I would prefer to go in January, only because I want to make sure that ACES has enough time to review this plan, provide comments, and basically in the month of December we can go back and forth from ACES to finalize the plan so that we're presenting something that ACES has, for lack of a better term, adopted or approved, so the board has a high level of confidence that ACES has signed off on this.
Okay, why don't we just plan for both conversations, shoot to have them in the same meeting, that way it flows and there's better understanding from the board level how they're connected, and I'll just make sure we get onto that first meeting in January.
Okay,
that sounds great. And then that also, if we do change the action plan and that impacts the goals that we want to share, then we can make sure that those are in alignment before we go to the board. So I think that'd be helpful.
And Ken, just a logistics question. Would it be best to provide a very brief PowerPoint presentation with an overview of the plan and some of the goals and key outcomes and strategies?
For what you all are probably going to present, I would say having some type of read ahead would be useful. That way the board can digest. So whatever format you think would be most effective is fine, whether that's a PowerPoint or a 1 or a 2 page bullet type document, whatever works best. But yeah, a read ahead will help the conversation be that much more effective, I think.
Okay, sounds good.
And Mike, once we get a specific date set up, I will work with you and let you know when, because I'll have to put together a staff memo that will go in the agenda, and we'll kind of work on that together to put all that info and get it ahead of the meeting so the town board has it in their packet.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Hey, Stefan. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It looks like Tim has raised his hand to speak. If you're interested.
Yep, I'm definitely interested.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry, and I don't mean to interrupt, but the one comment I would have in addition to what Ken said about presenting to the board, I think framing all of this in a larger kind of umbrella, not necessarily program, but objective, and something that has a marketing kind of spin to it that people can latch onto. And if you will, that's kind of one of the, I think, brilliant aspects of Sierra Club's Ready for 100. What it does is it gives a soundbite that the board members can latch onto, and it's a commitment that also can then be translated into discussions with the press and others, and people can get excited about it. So the detail that you're talking about, Mike, I think is fantastic. And I think you're going to have at least half the board who are going to be diving into it and loving it. But I do think spending the time to put thinking into how you frame this at the highest level is really important, because that's then also going to translate in how you go out to the wider community to get the support.
It's a great point, Tim. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe that can be part of our discussion in December, is how do we package this so we can frame this in a compelling way, and sort of that 30-second soundbite.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Do you have any final thoughts or comments or anything people want to share at this point at the Partners in Energy program? All right, thanks everyone. And thanks again, Mike. This is super exciting. So glad you're leading the charge on this.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll be getting a draft out to everybody before the end of the month, probably before Thanksgiving. So you've got some time to review it before the December meeting.
Cool, that sounds great. Thanks. All right, so next up is next steps for sprinklers in the town. And Jim, do you want to kind of kick this off? I can't remember exactly where we left it last month, so my apologies.
Yeah, I didn't get as far as I hoped to start things off. So I think where we left things was I was going to try and identify some patches of grass around town that could really be converted to xeric, and or just trails, basically just something that doesn't require water. Because I brought up the point last time, and I think maybe you guys have observed this too. We have a lot of grass, right? And if water was an infinite resource, keep the grass. It looks great, but it's not. So we got to do something to be environmental stewards, which we do on this committee, right? And I think that means using water in the right place at the right time, which includes watering our grass. So. So yeah, I mean, really, this is about trying to identify areas in the town that maybe the grass is a pain to maintain. It's difficult to get to. There's safety issues with, landscapers crossing the street to mow the lawn in the middle of a busy median. Grass that just doesn't grow really well. All the above. And so yeah, I took the initial action item last month to try and identify these areas, but I don't think I'd be swinging in the dark. I don't think it'd be that bad, but I'm just trying to find out, is there a better way to approach this than me just marking up a map? Or because really this boils back down to saving water, but also making life easier for the town of Superior. And I mean, I always forget the guy's name. Who's the head guy with the town that talked a few meetings ago?
Matt Rarick.
Yeah, I mean, we heard Matt say how much he's constantly tweaking the schedules to get them right, to water the lawns adequately, to balance water use and waste and all that. But part of this is kind of making life easier for Matt and getting this done right, and then also maintenance too. And the cost to the town. So there's a lot of win-wins here, but again, to start picking off where to start, I'm still trying to get my head around that. And I'm open to advice or thoughts for the rest of the committee on that. I mean, I assume we're all on the same page, but of course, correct me on that if I'm wrong too.
I'm fully in agreement. Does it make sense to maybe move this to Q1 of next year, when the grass isn't dead, to talk a little bit more about it? Or do you think there's steps that we could take either next meeting or the following meeting, kind of shorter term?
I don't have a good answer for that. Like I said, I also don't think this involves spending hopefully thousands of dollars on doing these conversions either. Like what we're seeing with Duraroot, that this stuff isn't cheap. There might be economical ways to do this as well. So. But if you want to move it, I mean, are you saying going over this work plan next month? It's gonna be pretty busy, so maybe moving this to January would be better. February?
That's what I was thinking. And I don't, if we want to talk about sooner rather than later, that's fine. We've just got a lot that we're adding to the agenda for December. And if, part of that is going to be walking around and looking for opportunities to maybe convert to Xeric, it might be easier after winter, ends, but it's totally up to you. I mean, I think the problem, again, in the past that we've run into is just that it's expensive to get a consultant out to look at the, everything in the town. And so I do think that if you or someone else is willing to kind of walk around and mark up a map, to your point, that would get us a big part of the way there. And then we can explore resources or additional recommendations to do additional either consulting or just jump into sort of the Xeric landscaping, depending on where the board and town staff are at with that.
I mean, do you think this is 100% on ACES to mark up a map, or do you think we should do this in a collaboration with Matt or one of his staff?
I mean, I think a collaboration is great. Oh, sorry. And then the other thing I was also going to say is we could also consider partnering with like ProStack or some of the other groups as well.
This is Mike Foster. I think this was the August meeting, maybe September meeting. I seem to recall Matt being very open and supportive of ACES members marking up a map for him. He thought that would, help provide him more information and allow him to dive into that a little bit more. So as he's pointing, sounds like that would be a great collaboration opportunity.
And Karen, do you have any additional information about what's going to happen in 2021 with the I think it was 100,000 or 125,000 that was budgeted for xeriscaping for this upcoming year? I know it was $25,000 for design and then 100,000 for implementation. Is that going to go out to bid, or is that going to go to the new landscaper and they'll be responsible for that? Or is this going to be a public works project? Or is there going to be, what I'm really getting at, is there going to be a point during this process where ACES might be able to be part of the conversation and contribute some thoughts? Because I think there's probably going to be some overlap here, and to better understand what the effort with what's already earmarked for xeriscaping with the town and what ACES would like to do might be very complementary.
Right, and absolutely I agree with that. And I don't have any additional information. I'm not privy to that information, but it's definitely something I can ask about and get the information on. As everyone's been speaking, that those questions are exactly what I wrote down is, how can ACES work with town staff, in order to make this process, work together and not against each other, and kind of get to the end point together in a collaborative way. And bringing up the money that's already been earmarked, that is something that I just need to figure out and ask the question of how that's going to play out.
Perfect. So I think, Jim, to your question of when, or I think as you brought it up too, but when is the best time to discuss this? I think figuring out when it falls in line with however the town is moving forward with it. I don't know if it needs a separate contractor or whenever the appropriate time is to provide that feedback and be part of that process. As long as ACES has a general idea of what they would like to see before then, that way the group can contribute to that conversation. I think that's the deadline you're shooting for. So it sounds like we're probably at least, I'm guessing 2, 3, maybe 4 months out on that. So there's probably time to come to a conclusion on, in a perfect world, what you would like to see, or where we could start anyway.
All right. So then, Karen, I guess you'll talk to the town and get back to us and see if, maybe not like if, but just when they'd have time to work together on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm good with that.
Great. And I will add that as a just general update for our next meeting in December. So at least we can make sure that that's on track and we're getting the information we need.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, the final item is the work plan, which is a lot to dive into in our last 10 minutes here, ideally. So let me actually, Karen, can I go ahead and share my screen real quick? I'll just show people what it looks like. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen. I took a really quick first stab at tweaking the work plan, just taking our existing 2020 work plan and updating a couple things and adding some things on based on our conversations. And so I think what I'd like to propose, and basically for those of you who may not have seen this before, basically the way that we've traditionally organized our work plan is around things that are ongoing, so things we're doing kind of all year round, and then quarterly tasks. So, you know, Q1, Q2, to try to make sure that we have a good organization and get to everything that we want to do since we cover so many different things. You know, if we want to talk about different ways of organizing this as well, I'd be open to that now that we're looking at, you know, energy, waste, water, air quality, and a bunch of other goals. And it may potentially make sense to look at different ways of organizing it so we can focus on, like, within the energy goal, here are all the different things we're going to be doing. Yeah, I kind of want to get people's feedback on that. And then I'm thinking what might make the most sense is just to share it with everyone. I've put this into a Google Doc so it's shareable and everyone can suggest edits. And then next meeting, we can come together, kind of review the and discuss the proposed changes, and then hopefully finalize the work plan and officially submit it. Does that sound like a good plan to everyone?
This is Mike. It does, and Essie, I kind of like organizing our work plan. Let's, for discussion purposes, say the board approves our sustainability goals. I like the idea of organizing our work plan based on those goals, so we have a clear connection between the work that we're doing and the goal that we're tying into. So at the end of the year, we can say, yeah, we did these 3 things to achieve this goal and these 10 things to achieve this goal. I think it'd make it really easy to then report back to the town board and share all of our accomplishments. But like you said, I'd like to get other people's perspective on that as well.
I mean, are there any things on here that should be prioritized from the board's perspective because we're going to miss a window, like a contract renewal or adoption of the ordinance or anything like that that should be fast tracked? I mean, like a good example was like the waste contract here last summer and the old town and all that. But like, does my question make sense? Like things that should be moved up the list to Q1 where ongoing things could be.
Jim, I think that's a fantastic point, especially given that all of the things that we've already talked about tonight and needing, you know, either volunteer effort to get done or put onto town staff's plates to get done. I totally agree that we should figure out some kind of prioritization.
I do think one thing that we could do is if we got rid of the quarterly planning for this and just had a list of goals of what we're going to accomplish in the year. What that could allow us to do is to have, you know, a prioritized list of what we want to get done for the year for each of the kind of core goals that we have as a group. And then we could create a separate, more flexible calendar that would let us be a little bit more agile in terms of how we prioritize things, you know, as the year progresses. But that might be a way of kind of simplifying the work plan a little bit and making it very clear what our priorities are for each individual goal that we're working towards.
I like that. Greg or Steve or
One
Becky.
time-sensitive addition, just in the past, we've, you know, the Boulder County Sustainability runs like a grant, like cost sharing program. There's some cost share required, but they'll grant funds to us. And in the past, sometimes that's snuck up on us, and we've been in the meeting and said, oh, should we like put a proposal in? And you know, like realize that we'd have to like prepare the proposal in the next 20 minutes. So like we need to get ahead of that, or you guys should. I would recommend getting ahead of that early in the year and then making a plan for that.
Do we have a calendar of when those grant applications are typically due so that we can, put a reminder out maybe 3 months prior, hey, this is coming up. Let's assign a point person or have a volunteer take point on that.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I would contact Leah Yancey at Boulder County Sustainability Office is probably
Oh, I know Leah.
the contact.
Yeah.
And just send her an email and ask if she could give us all the info about that.
Yep.
And I would just throwing my 2 cents in. I think making sure we have those dates marked and are ahead of the schedule on that is probably a good thing, especially because I imagine that what ACES is going to want to accomplish this upcoming year is going to be quite ambitious, and we'll probably have some price tags associated with it. And even though I think there's going to be broad support from the board on just about everything that comes forward, it's still always a challenge to find funds to support everything, all the good ideas that come to us. So any and all grant funding that we can get to support some of this just makes it so much easier to push forward everything you guys bring forward.
Ken or Karen, I have a kind of a procedural question. If ACES did want to pursue a grant that did not have a match, would we need to get board approval prior to applying for that grant?
That did or did not have a match?
It did not have a match.
I don't think so. I mean, Karen, I don't think, at least in my experience, we've even required the committees to come to us for approval before they submit an application. Is that your understanding as well?
Right. Not when there's, yeah, exactly. If there's not a match or some sort of funding that's coming from the town, then there isn't a requirement. It's just a matter of making sure that it's listed in the notes. And that, what your plans are, what you're doing, so that then that gets translated to the board so that they understand and know what you're working on.
Okay. And since the ACES has a budget, have we leveraged our budget for matches in the past? And
we have, yeah.
We have, okay. Great, thank you.
Well, I know we're at the top of the hour, so let me take a first stab at kind of reorganizing the work plan. I'll just primarily keep all the stuff that we currently have in there and kind of reorganize it around the goals that we've talked about. And then I'll share that out with everyone, and would love to get your comments and feedback. Feel free to put them directly into the Google Doc, and then I'll review those changes, and hopefully in December we can just kind of go through the whole document, iron out any potential disagreements or anything else, and then go ahead and approve it. That sounds good to everyone.
Sounds great. And I'll reach out to Leah Yancey and see if she has a calendar of upcoming grant cycle.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks. Does anyone have any final comments for the evening?
No.
I'll just say that at the next board meeting, we are going to select committees that the town board members are going to be assigned to. And I've loved working with you guys and hope to continue to work with you guys. But if it comes to pass that I am not the liaison, I appreciate everything you guys have been doing and have really enjoyed the past couple of years working with you guys, and look to continue supporting you directly from the board if I'm not your liaison. But hopefully I am come our meeting in December.
Great.
Well, thank you, Ken. Fingers are crossed that you'll still be our liaison, but if you're not, we'll still have an advocate. So that's fantastic.
Yes, you will.
Definitely appreciate all your help. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I think with that, we can conclude the meeting. Have a good evening.
Great.
Yeah, thanks,
Happy
you too.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
I have a good
Thanks, you too.
Everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.